Hi everybody, so today we're going to be talking about the veins of the lower extremity. And as you know, veins bring blood back to the heart. So we're going to start at the foot, we're going to go into the knee. Actually, we're going to start at the foot, we're going to go to the leg, we're going to go to the knee, then the thigh, and then into the pelvis. So let's go ahead and get started. And this here would be my leg, and this would be my foot down here, okay? So what you're looking at is the right leg, and this is a lateral view. So this is as if you're looking at my foot from this angle right here as you see me right now, okay? So now, the first thing that we have is on the bottom of the foot, we have something called the plantar arch. Okay, it's called the plantar arch. So now, you're looking at this as if this is the top and this is the bottom right here. In actuality, this would be flat like this. You're looking at it like this. So the top part here would be like where my thumb is, the bottom part here is like where my pinky is. And like I said, in actuality, it's like this. The arch would actually be up here going around the front of my hand. So now, on this, I am going to have on this portion, because again, if my pinky is the bottom part here and I go like this is going to be the lateral portion. This is going to be called the lateral plantar vein, and then this would be my medial plantar vein. Okay, so I have my lateral plantar vein and my medial plantar vein. Now my two plantar veins are going to come together and they are going to form something called the posterior tibial vein. So here's my posterior tibial vein. Okay, there's my posterior tibial vein right there. Now, this is in the back of the leg, so this is going to drain blood from the back of the leg. Okay, that's what that's going to do. Now, the other thing I'm going to have is I am also going to have another arch that's on the top, and this is going to be called the dorsal venous arch. So if we take a look at this, this would be my dorsal venous arch. All right, there's my dorsal venous arch right there. And then if we look at this part here, again, this is going to be flat. Even though it looks like that's the top and that's the bottom, this is going to be flat. So if I have my plantar arch, it's going to be there, and then I got my dorsal venous arch up on top of it. So it'd be like this in the foot. Okay, so really quick, we're going to say that this is on the bottom of the foot. Okay, and then this is going to be on the top of the foot. Now, coming off of here, I am going to have an artery that is going to come up, and it's going to come off of this dorsal venous arch, and it's going to come up and go this way, okay? And this here is going to be called my anterior tibial arch. I'm sorry, my anterior tibial vein. Okay, so there's my anterior tibial vein, there's my posterior tibial vein. Now what's going to happen is my posterior tibial vein and my anterior tibial vein are going to continue up and they are going to connect. So they're going to continue up and eventually they are going to connect. All right, and then when they connect, they're going to make a new vein. And this vein is going to be called the Popliteal Vein. Okay, and this is in the knee. So my Popliteal Vein is going to be made up of my posterior tibial vein and my anterior tibial vein. There's some other things that are happening here too. So if we look right here, this dorsal venous arch, we're actually going to have a vein that comes from your big toe. And then it's going to be on this part here. Oop, I didn't label this. This part here of my dorsal venous arch is called the lateral marginal vein. And this part that's right here is called the medial marginal vein. Okay? So now, my medial marginal vein that's right here is going to continue and it's going to go up. It's going to go up. And it is called the great saphenous vein. Now, the thing about this is my great saphenous vein actually goes medial. So it actually would be on the medial side of this leg. Even though it looks like it's anterior to the anterior tibial vein, it's actually on the other side. I'm going to draw this differently in just a minute. And then on this side, if you notice, I have my lateral marginal vein. So with my lateral marginal vein, I am going to get my small saphenous vein. So we're just going to write this like this, and this would be my small saphenous vein. What a mess this is. It'll make more sense in a minute. So this is my small saphenous vein. Okay? And what's going to happen now is my small saphenous vein is going to continue upward. Okay? Just like my great saphenous vein did. All right? And then eventually, my small saphenous vein is going to insert into the popliteal vein. Okay, so my small saphenous vein is going to go into the popliteal vein. And again, we'll look at this from a better angle in just a minute. I'm just kind of letting you know what's going on here. One last one that's here is going to be, I have our veins that come together. And what they're going to do is they are going to make something called the fibular vein. So this is my fibular vein right here. The fibular vein is also known as the peroneal vein. This is going to drain the lateral leg. Just like my small saphenous vein does, okay? So my fibular vein here is going to eventually go into the posterior tibial vein. So it's going to drain the lateral leg, and then it drains into the posterior tibial vein. Okay, so that's my fibular vein. So this is a mess, and this is very confusing. So let's look at this from another angle. Okay, the main thing I want you to get from this is that I'm going to form my popliteal vein by the posterior tibial vein and the anterior tibial vein. They're going to come together to form the popliteal vein. Now I'm going to draw both these arches again, but they're going to be side by side, so you would just have to imagine that one is on top of the other. So if we come down here again, here is my my plantar arch. All right, this is my plantar arch. And again, we said this is on the bottom of the foot. All right, and then this was going to go up, and this is going to form my posterior tibial vein. Okay, and just to reiterate, this would be as if you were looking at the right leg now, facing towards me, okay? And so this would be the way this is going to look. So this is my right leg. And so in this case, over here would be the lateral view. Over here would be the medial view. Inside the leg and outside the leg. Okay? So now, like we also said coming out of here, we had basically capillaries coming together, and they are going to form my fibular vein. And my fibular vein is going to drain into my posterior tibial vein, like we just said a minute ago. Okay, so there's that part right there. Just to reiterate, this right here would be my medial plantar vein. This would be my lateral plantar vein. Okay, and they come together to form the posterior tibial vein. So let's take another view of this. So let's look at now the dorsal venous arch. Just going to move this over just a little bit. And now, here's my dorsal venous arch. Let's do this in blue. Okay. And just to reiterate real quick too, this is actually going to be in the leg region between the ankle and the knee. This is going to be on the bottom of the foot, and this is the foot also. So once again, I got my dorsal venous arch. All right, and like we said, this is going to be on the top of the foot. Okay, and then once again, this is going, if we're looking at the right foot again, this is going to be my lateral side, and this would be my medial side. So let me draw a little line separating those. And again, this would actually be on top of this, okay? So over here, I would have my medial marginal vein, and over here, I would have my lateral marginal vein. It would be right there. Now, these are going to continue up, and like we said, from this medial, well, before we get to that, let's deal with coming off of here. We are going to have our anterior tibial vein. Okay, so this is my anterior tibial vein. Then coming off the medial marginal, I am going to have that great saphenous vein, if you recall. Right, this is my great saphenous vein. Okay, and over here, I would have my small saphenous vein. Right here. Okay, so now here's what's going to happen. This part's in the leg, this part's in the leg. So what's going to happen, like we mentioned before, is I am going to have this anterior tibial vein is actually going to come posterior, and the posterior tibial vein are going to come anterior. So even though it looks like it's going right to left, you have to realize if this is on top of this, one's going back towards the other. Okay, so this would be my anterior tibial, and this would be my posterior tibial. And like we said a minute ago, they are going to come together to form my popliteal vein. So my popliteal vein is going to be made up of my anterior tibial vein and my posterior tibial vein. Okay, so once again, and again, if this is on top of this, they're not going from right to left coming together. It's going from one's in front, one's in back, and they come together to form the popliteal vein. So let's go ahead and erase this. And now, what we're going to do is we are going to look at, from the popliteal vein going up. Okay, so here's my popliteal vein. coming up. And then, and remember, so the popliteal vein is in the knee. Okay? Then, when the popliteal vein gets into the thigh, it becomes the femoral vein. Okay? It becomes the femoral vein. And going back real quick to this popliteal vein, I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. I had that saphenous vein, the small saphenous vein. My small saphenous vein is going to drain into the popliteal vein. So this is my small saphenous vein, and it's draining into the popliteal vein. Okay, then I have the femoral vein. The femoral vein is going to continue upward, all right, and then it's going to come up to an area called the inguinal region. And when it gets to the inguinal region, what's going to happen is that great saphenous vein that we talked about, the great saphenous vein, is going to drain into the femoral vein. So this drains into the femoral vein in the inguinal region. Okay, that's going to drain into the femoral vein in the inguinal region. Then what's going to happen is this saphenous vein is going to continue up in the inguinal region, and it's going to get to the inguinal ligament. When it gets to the inguinal ligament, this femoral vein now becomes the external iliac. Okay, so once it passes this inguinal ligament, this is going to become the external iliac vein. Now, as it continues up, my external iliac, I'm going to use red, even though we usually use red for arteries. I'm running out of colors. My external iliac is going to meet with my internal iliac vein. Okay, and that's going to go on to form the, we use a different color. That's going to go on to form the common iliac vein. So we're going to call this the common iliac vein. Now, this is the common iliac vein on the right side. Okay, all of this is the right side. Okay. But don't forget, whatever I have here, I have the same exact thing on the left side. So we're going to go over to the left side. And I am going to have my left common iliac vein. And they are going to meet, actually let's go like this. So there's my right common iliac. This is my left common iliac. Okay, and then these meet together to form our inferior vena cava. Okay, so once we get to the knee, we're going to have the great saphenous vein. Oops, I never wrote that down. This is my great saphenous vein here. Oh, I did write it down. I'm sorry. I wrote it in black. I was looking for it in green. So this is going to be my great saphenous vein is going to drain into my femoral vein. Remember to start all the way down the foot. My small saphenous vein is going to drain into the popliteal vein. My popliteal vein was made up by the anterior and posterior tibial veins. This just continues up when we're in this region. This is the thigh. Right? When we get to this region, here, we're in the pelvis. All right, and then we get to this area here, we're actually starting to go into the abdominal region. So that's the veins for the lower extremity, and thank you so much for watching.